new energy policy, and I'll tell you, this has become urgent. It's always been important, now it's urgent. You know, we've got oil at nearly $100 a barrel. You know what? That puts us over the barrel. We are basically at the mercy of all these oil-producing regimes. Every time you drive a mile, you're basically putting money into the pockets of regimes that all too often use that money against us. Every time you think about how dependent we are on foreign oil, I want you to remember that we are now more dependent than we were on 9/11. If that was not a wake-up call, I don't know what was. Because, you know, I am, as you know, a senator from New York. So I have lived through that horrific attack and the aftermath. And I remember that most of those hijackers came from a big oil-producing country. And every time I look at the numbers of how much we're importing and how much money we are exporting, it just makes my stomach turn. Because we are putting ourselves at the mercy of regimes that are not acting the way we think is best. So what are we going to do about it? Well, I mean, we can complain about it. We can curse out the gas pump every time we go. That's not a way to solve a problem, however. So here's some things I think we ought to do. Take Nevada, for example. There is no reason in the world why Nevada cannot get even more of the power you get now from geothermal. Nevada gets the second highest percentage after California. If we had a serious national energy policy, we would be focusing on Nevada to be a model for solar power. And we would be investing in the research and the demonstration projects. Other parts of the country have other kinds of advantages, but we need to see what we can do across America to make it possible, because here's the goal that I think we need to have. We need to be looking to produce 25% of our electricity from renewable sources by 2025. We need to be looking to reduce our projected demand in oil, particularly for transportation, by 2/3 in the next 20 years. We need to be looking to have a cap-and-trade system that will make it more expensive for polluters to pollute and put greenhouse gas emissions into the air. We can do all of this. Now, is it going to be easy? No, but we're a great country. If it were easy, anybody could do it. That's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to set the example. And if you look at other countries, they're moving faster than we are. You know, the first time I knew about, I mean, I didn't pay much attention to oil and gas and everything until, you know, in the 1970s. Some of you are old enough to remember when all of a sudden, you know, I had to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to go get my car to wait in line to go to the gas pump. That had never happened in America. You know, when I was growing up, one of my father's favorite pastimes, my late father, was to drive around on Sunday afternoons looking for gas wars. So, you know, we'd load into the car after church and we'd wander around because he'd heard somewhere, somebody was selling gas for 20 cents a gallon. I don't know, that seems impossible today, doesn't it? So, you know, we didn't think about it in those days. And so we stood in those lines and people got serious, and I give President Jimmy Carter credit because he tried to warn us and he tried to get us to do some things. But here's what always happens. So we all get upset because the gas prices go up, and you know, the folks selling us this are not stupid. So they kind of bring them down. And everybody goes, oh, instead of paying $97 a barrel and $3.30 a gallon, oh, great, we're only paying $70 a barrel and $2.85 a gallon. So, gee, this is great. See how it's like the frog. You dump the frog into the cold water, you know, and turn up the heat, the frog boils. If you drop them into the hot water, they jump out. So we're just like that frog. We kind of get lulled into believing, oh, okay, it's better than it used to be. Other countries are not doing that. You know, after that first big oil shock, Brazil said, we can't do this. We got to figure out how we're going to get out of our dependence on foreign oil. They began experimenting with sugarcane, and they never quit. So for 30 years, they tried to figure out what they grew that they could put in their gas tanks. And now they are energy independent when it comes to transportation, because they use sugarcane ethanol, something they grow in abundance, to be able to blend with gasoline, and they've got enough to be able to say they're independent and they don't have to worry. Other countries have done it with solar and with geothermal and with wind, so we could do this. But we can't do it if we don't have a president who believes in it and who leads on it, and that has been missing. And to be fair, all the rest of us, I think, have been somewhat complicitous, because we say to ourselves, okay, great, the price is down, I don't have to worry about it. We can't do that. We have to demand that Detroit move toward hybrid vehicles and more flex fuel vehicles, plug-in hybrids. We need to be doing this. I met a man the other day who's in an experiment with one of the big 3 auto companies. He has a new lithium-ion battery, and he has a hybrid plug-in. He got 1,500 miles on a tank of gas. And this is what he does. He drives it during the day, and he plugs it in at night. The Model T was more energy efficient than our cars today. The Model T actually got better gas mileage and could run on a mix of ethanol and gas. So it's like Back to the Future. And if we do this, if we gave people tax credits to buy these cars, if we gave utilities more incentives to do energy efficiency, we could do this. And we will do it, because you know what? We don't have a choice, because we cannot continue this kind of dependence. We also have no choice when it comes to health care. Now I want to ask, how many of you know somebody, it doesn't have to be you, how many of you know somebody who is uninsured when it comes to health care? Yeah. And how many of you know somebody or have had the experience that even with health insurance, the health insurance companies wouldn't pay for what the doctor in the hospital said you needed? See, we got 2 problems here. We got the problem of the uninsured, which is a terrible problem, because we got 47 million people without health insurance. And oftentimes, you know where you'll find them, in the emergency rooms, because they have nowhere else to go. But then we've got millions more who actually have health insurance. They pay their premiums, except when it comes time to get that claim paid for what the doctor said you needed, the insurance company says, just kidding. We're not going to do it. So we've got to solve both problems. Here's what I would do. I've proposed something called the American Health Choices Plan. And it's pretty simple. If you have health insurance and you're happy with it, nothing changes. But if you're uninsured, or you have a health insurance policy that doesn't cover a pre-existing condition or costs too much for what you get, you're going to be able to go into the congressional plan. The congressional plan is called the Federal Employees Health Benefit Plan. It takes care of members of Congress, and it takes care of federal employees. And it's a good plan. More than 250 choices at a price less than what you can get through most employers or in the open market. And I have said for years, going back to, last time we tried this, this has been tried by Franklin Roosevelt and Harry Truman and Lyndon Johnson and Richard Nixon, and we've always run into opposition, but we've never had so many people who know we have to change that we do now. Doctors, nurses, pharmacists, hospital administrators, employers, union members, families, everybody. So I believe that if it's good enough for Congress, it's good enough for every American. And you ought to have that option to be able to have that. And if you can't afford it, we're going to give people health care tax credits. Because I want everybody to be able to afford to get health insurance. And then we're going to do a couple other things. We're going to emphasize prevention. We do a terrible job in America of paying for prevention. We do a good job paying for sickness, but not for prevention. And I see this all the time. I mean, if you're a diabetic, you know you have to have your feet checked, right? It's one of the most important things you do. But most insurance companies won't pay for you to go to have your feet checked, won't pay for you to go to a podiatrist, but they'll pay if you have to have your foot amputated. Makes no sense at all. So there are a lot of these kinds of situations where we can get people healthier than by just waiting till somebody is sick. But if we don't change, we're going to have more and more uninsured people, and that'll put more and more pressure on hospitals, and pretty soon you've got the consequences through the whole system. So I know how important it is to address this, and I think the country's ready.